Welcome back to the Eternal Audio Diary. This is episode 2, and if you're seeing the screen again, you might be like, I thought you said that wasn't going to be the final picture, and it's not. It's not going to be. I just have not changed it yet, and I'm filming this about 12 hours after I filmed the last episode because I only touched maybe 2 of the topics that I had written down. So, we're coming back, and we're gonna hopefully cover some more of these topics. Okay, I woke up. Actually, that's a lie. I went to bed at like 6 a.m. Then I woke up at 9:30, and massive migraine today, guys. Not good start. I've been sitting here at my desk since 10 a.m. at my job. I'm actually on the clock at my job right now filming this because I just got off a call and there has been about an hour and a half queue between my calls. So hopefully I have enough time to film this without any interruptions. And if I don't, well, you guys will never know. So, hello. How's everybody else doing today? Okay, picking up where I left off, I want to talk about this first. So, maybe I don't want to talk about that actually. Maybe I don't want to talk about that actually. Let's start with something else. Let's go for. Okay. I am a terrible texter. And I feel like in this day and age, a lot of people prefer texting to phone calls, FaceTimes, and whatever, email, everything like that, DMs. I feel like a lot of people prefer text, or DM is texting. Anyway, I feel like a lot of people prefer that. Personally, if I get a call from you, I'm aware that it's much more urgent and it makes me answer the phone. You text me, I see that my phone, I'm doing something, my phone lights up, I see a text, I'll answer it in a little bit. I'm in the middle of a game, I see my phone light up with a text, I'll answer it after this game. I forget to answer it after that game. You call me in the middle of my game, I answer the phone, I'm playing my game while listening to what you're saying. You ask me to get up and go do something, I get up and go do something, especially if it's urgent. So, I'm just saying, phone calls, way more productive for me. And that's not the truth for everyone. A lot of people prefer texting these days. But I'm also a terrible texter. Like, I hate holding conversations. Tying back into last episode, okay? Rewind. Remember last episode I was talking about the dating apps. I try my best to have good conversations on there. And, the other party does not make it the easiest to do so because men are fucking awful and boring. Hey, are you interesting? No. Um, I try my best to make conversation and do what I can. Obviously, we all start with the, "Hey, how are you? What are you doing? What are you up to?" Blah, blah, and that's what. After you get past that, after you get past the bullshit, that's when you can get into the meat of the conversation. That's when I start asking what your darkest secret is and your deepest desires. That's where we get into that. After that third message, that what are you up to? That's when I ask the big question. Okay. What was I saying? Oh, but I feel like a lot of people like they'll say they're into texting or they prefer texting, but it's just because they're like it's an excuse to be lazy. Because a lot of them are bad textures too. A lot of people are just not good at texting, whether it's because they forget or whether they are just like don't know how to have a text conversation with new people. A lot of people are bad at texting, and I think we need to bring phone calls back. I think we need to bring the corded phones that we have to leave in the living room or in like the hallway, and you have to get a really long cord, and that's how you can be on the phone. And we should take away phone screens, and I think we should go back to phone calls because that would be great. Then people would have to talk because you're not going to use my minutes just sitting there silent either. So we're going to be talking, or you're going to be listening to me talk. Think about that. Think about that. Okay. Think about that because I'm tired of me messaging and me asking a question that does not constitute an answer of, oh, I'm this. I'm happy this. Oh, yes. No. Hello, can I get a little bit of character? And you got a personality in there, you know, anything. Could you give me a little bit more to work with? Okay, it's kind of we matched, so there's some sort of mutual situation here. Okay, I need you to lock in. Okay, I need you to get to typing using those fat little thumbs on that screen on your iPhone 16 or whatever the fuck they're on now. Okay, I need you to get to going because I cannot carry the weight of this conversation by myself. So I think we just need to bring back phone calls because I think having a phone call also puts you in a spot where if you're not responding, I'm hanging up, and then I'm blocking your number, and then I'm blocking you on every other social platform. Hello, and that's the thing though too, is if I'm in a good like friendship or relationship with someone, we can be on the phone. Like I'll be in Discord calls all the time with my friends, and sometimes we're literally sitting there completely silent, doing our own things. But it's just like having like the feeling of the company. You know what I mean? And so sometimes I want to do that. Sometimes, like back in high school, my best friend, um, my best friend Chloe, we would be on FaceTime sometimes, and we would just be sitting there not really talking. We'd be playing. I mean, we'd be playing games together most of the time that we were on Facetime. But sometimes we'd be on Facetime and we would just be both be sitting there doing our own things. She'd be getting ready for something or doing homework, and then I'd be sitting there twiddling my thumbs or messaging people, getting groomed on Kick. And I think that's great. It's just the feeling of company that I enjoy, and that's why I also think that in a partner I also don't even need someone that necessarily plays video games or I mean if they do play video games that's great because that's something that we can bond over, but it's just someone that like I can share a space with while I do my thing and they do theirs. And we don't necessarily always have to be interacting with each other or talking to each other. And obviously, I would enjoy talking to them and I would enjoy interacting with them. But sometimes I don't want to interact with everyone at all times. Sometimes I want to have my little alone time and I just want to be alone, but I want to be alone doing my own thing in the presence of someone that I enjoy being around. Which is why I think that I like sitting in Discord calls with my friends because I enjoy being around them and I enjoy their company. And if somebody does want to talk or if I want to talk, I at least have the option to. Where if I'm fully alone and I start talking, nobody's gonna respond, and I'm gonna sound like a crazy person to anybody who hears me. You know what I mean? I think that we should bring back phone calls, and I think we should take away the screens. And I think everybody should be required to use the phone calls. And if you don't use your corded phone inside the hallway of your house, at least for 10 minutes, like a month or something, you get fined. You should get fined. I think it should be a requirement that people learn how to fucking talk to each other again. Because nobody knows how to talk these days, it seems. And I think that we should cut off men's thumbs so they cannot text. Because men are awful texters. Moving on to another topic I would like to discuss. Similar, I was just talking about sharing a living situation with someone who I can just share the space with. I want to do that in Nebraska. I want to move from Texas. Love my family in Texas, and I've had some separation issues before where I've moved away and I feel so far away from everything that I've known that it like scares me. But I think that I've kind of grown and like shed that skin, and now I'm a beautiful red sunburned child ready to go and explore the entire shoreline. That doesn't make sense at all. I want to move to Nebraska. I want to move into the middle of nowhere, but like not into the middle of nowhere where I'm like in the middle of the sticks and don't have internet. I want to move to the middle of nowhere as in like still in a somewhat urbanized area, but it's in a generally unpopulated area, like larger area. Like I don't want to live in. Sorry, excuse me. Oh my gosh, that's disgusting of me. And I'm taking another drink. I don't want to live in like the state of New York, but just in one of the rural parts because that's way too densely populated. I want to live in like Lincoln, Nebraska, where it's a bigger urbanized city, but it's in Nebraska. And who the fuck lives in Nebraska? Let's be honest. Anybody ever met anybody who lives in Nebraska? Raise your hand. Show of hands. Show of hands. Anybody who met anybody from Nebraska? Yeah, that's what I thought. And I want to be that. So yeah, I'm moving to Nebraska at some point. Maybe whether it's before or after I find my partner. I'm taking my ass to Nebraska. I'm getting this teaching degree, and I'm moving to Nebraska. And that brings me to my next point, which I probably will circle back to this Nebraska point. But since I mentioned it, I want to be a teacher. And being a teacher in this day and age is something, it's something I wanted to do since middle school, but like probably middle school, but definitely high school. And I've gone back and forth on this subject. I know that I never wanted to do math or science. And I don't really care for history that much. But I knew that I wanted to do English or theater. High school was where I kind of went more into theater, but in middle school I was like, I want to be a teacher for like just like a general, like I want to do like early childhood, like general education. So you teach them like a couple things, you teach them all the subjects throughout the year. But as I've kind of got older, I don't want to do super young children anymore. I don't want to do. I want to do it like third to like fifth grade. And so that's such a kind of a weird age range too, because the degrees that are offered are either like early childhood to sixth grade or fourth grade to eighth grade. Or in some cases it's like sixth grade to 12th grade. I think. But I don't want to be like, I don't really want to be a specific subject. And if I was a specific subject, I definitely don't do math or science. But I don't really want to be a specific subject because I don't want to have to just teach the same thing all year round. And I don't know if that makes sense. But just being locked into that thing, into one subject for the entire year, just unless it was theater. Unless it was theater would be the one thing that I could do that all year round. But I don't want to be locked into like a core subject all year round because that's just going to get boring to me. And I don't want to be bored at work. So that's why I was thinking about doing earlier grades, because in the earlier grades they don't switch back and forth between classes. I think I started switching back and forth between classes in fourth grade, and I think we had English and social studies, and like that was like my first class. Then we went to lunch, and then after lunch we went to math and science, and I had that fourth grade. And then in fifth grade I had math and science. Then we went to lunch and then came back, and then I went to English social studies. I believe, if I remember correctly. And then sixth grade was when we started doing 4 classes, where I had my science class was first, and then we chose like our elective, and then we had like the gym class, and then we had the other subjects. Yeah. Why am I remembering so much about school? Anyway, I don't want to do. I definitely don't want to do sixth grade. That's how the education system in Texas was, at least in the schools that I went to. That's how it was. So I definitely don't want to do sixth grade because, like I said, I don't want to be locked into a subject unless it was theater. I don't want to be locked into a subject all year, so I don't want to do that. Now, if I did do the fourth or fifth grade where they only switch back and forth between 2 classes, I would want to do. Definitely, I would want to do English or social studies over math and science. Just because, even though it is kind of early math and early science, well, I don't know. I guess I wouldn't necessarily mind doing like the early science. It's just the math that kind of gets me. I don't really care for science either. I don't care for like the physics and the chemistry and all that stuff. But I'm remembering what like the kind of assignments we would do in those like classes. And it was like, oh, make your own like alien and make your own like monster or like animal hybrid and combine these like species things and stuff like that, which wasn't that hard, and it was actually kind of fun to do. So maybe I wouldn't mind doing science. It's just the math. I don't care for math. Like beyond like times tables, I don't really care about doing math. I don't really want to do math. And I think that's something that like since I took math early, because I started Algebra 1 in 8th grade, and I didn't have a math class my senior year. And I didn't do bad at math by any means, but I never understood what I was doing. Like, it never stuck. Like I would follow the guides and like the tutorials that the teacher would like kind of give us to do throughout all algebra and calculus or whatever that it had. I would follow all the tutorials and stuff, and it would give me like B averages on everything, just because some things I would obviously miss because I just didn't understand what was happening ever. And so I would move through that and I just can't stick with math. Like math just like, but the same thing with social studies and like history. I don't give a fuck. I don't give a damn about the fourth president and why the president was so fat that he had to get his own bathtub, and I just really don't care about knowing the ins and outs of all the wars and stuff like that. And obviously for certain movements going on, there is a sense of history that I do look into and I do research for the purpose, so I know what I'm talking about and being an ally for. And that way I know the proper history. That way if I am approached in any sort of way regarding stuff that would pertain to whatever rights movement or anything that comes up, like of course I want to be educated so that way I can debate and combat these people, because people are so uneducated when they argue about stuff like that. So of course there is a sense of history that I do research and I do know and I do understand, but like that's not the kind of stuff that you teach to third graders. Like that's just not the kind of stuff that really gets taught to third graders. So and it's like, so maybe on one hand I could use that and I could teach it to the third graders, but then on the other hand, in Texas specifically, they're not going to live for that kind of teaching, because they're very, the curriculum is very outdated, I think, for what we should and shouldn't be teaching kids still in Texas. So, and maybe that's another reason why I don't really find joy in learning about like the history and social studies, is because of like the Texas curriculum specifically being so outdated and just like not not progressive and not forward thinking and not 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 from the perspective of people deserved to be equal that fought to be equal. It's the perspective that we kind of get taught from in Texas is more so people fought to be equal just because they wanted to be equal and not because they like necessarily deserved it. And that's not something that I believe in, and that's not something that I stand by. I think that people deserve, all humans deserve equal ability to just live their life, especially in America. I believe that that is something that should be just that should just be given. Like it shouldn't be something that anybody has to fight for just because of any sort of difference, regardless of what it is. And so I think maybe that's why I maybe have some trouble with the history classes and stuff. And I never failed my history classes. I always did well, and those were no, those were I wouldn't say those were even like higher of my grades. They were definitely higher than my math ones. I think math and science were always my lowest, but that's because, like I said, I don't get into like the biology and forensic science and physics and chemistry. I don't care about all that stuff. I truly do not care about all that. So yeah, but if I were to be a teacher, I would want to do probably third grade, because third grade we didn't quite switch classes, so it was still a little bit of everything, but it's like a high enough level to where the kids are more understanding, and it is a little bit more interesting to teach. You can kind of give them a little, they're a little bit more free to do things. Uh, Not free to do things. They're a little bit more creative, I guess. They're third graders are more inclined to their creativity, like how individually, as individuals, they're more creative, and so they're able to channel that into the assignments that I would be able to give them. But I think that in third grade they're able to channel it in a way that is more clear as well, because I think in the earlier grades they're still not fully in control, and obviously nobody's fully developed at any of those ages, but they're not fully in control of their creative visions. So yeah, I think ideally I would want to do like third grade. But if I got my degree and then I applied to a school and they were like, oh, we have us like a fourth or fifth grade position open, I would take it. And then whatever subject they wanted to throw me in, that's what I would do. But I don't know, because I was looking at some degrees, and I looked at a school in Texas, and they had the Bachelor's of Art in Education, which was the English and Social Studies kind of area, as well as like teaching English to like non-native students, or teaching English to non-English speaking students, um, stuff like that. And that's all part of the B of A of education. Or there was a Bachelor's of Science in Education, which was the math and science and that kind of area of things, where you teach them that kind of stuff. So that's for the fourth to eighth grade, the ones, and then they also have the early childhood to sixth grade ones, which are more general. And so that's why I'm trying to decide where I would kind of fit in, and which one I would want to do more. Which is why I think that's something that I just need to get in contact with someone at one of these schools that I'm looking at, and talk to the advisors, because the advisors are there at the schools to help you kind of narrow down and pinpoint exactly what you're wanting to do, and help you figure that out. And so I think that's something that I need to look into. Moving on, for those of those who do not know what I do for work at my current job, so I am kind of a like contract worker. So basically, I work for this company, and the company gets clients who need positions filled at their respective businesses and whatnot, and so they supply my company with contracts to fill those positions, and then we as company workers can apply to these contracts, and get accepted to work on them for a certain amount of time. And so I applied to one originally, and then I got contract terminated for some reason. I don't know why. And so they switched my contract to a different one that was only supposed to be 30 days length, and it was just subject to change due to call volume. And so for the first month, and I started that at the beginning of September, um, end of August, beginning of September, and it's November 1st now. So I am scared that at any moment we could be told that it's over, and then I would have to go apply to a new contract. And some of these contracts, the day you start the training, it's unpaid training. So the day you start the training, it could be a month or so before you get your first paycheck, just because the pay is untrade, or sorry, the the training is unpaid, and it it you go through the training, and then you finally start doing the like actual like work process, and that's when you finally get paid, when you actually start doing the work. And so I do get a little fearful that they're gonna just let us know that the contract is expired, or is ending, and we're gonna have to find another one to do, because that would put me in a terrible situation with my finances, especially because when I started the other contract, I had quit my Wingstop job a little early, and so I was basically without a paycheck at all for over about not even, I would say, I think at least 4 weeks, but maybe 5 weeks that I was without a paycheck at all, and that was really bad. And then I started getting paychecks, and they were kind of small at first, because you don't get paid that much for your first couple weeks, because you're not doing that much work after you come out of training. Um, and so when I started getting paychecks, my first like three paychecks were like were on the smaller side. They were like not, they were barely like $100 each, and so it was starting to get me back up. But my living situation was becoming very drastic, and it was a lot of stress. Um, and so if I were to lose this contract, this job, and have to get a new one, and then I would be out of a job for a month, and I would still receive the pay up to 2 weeks from the contract expire date, because it's paid like whatever I work gets paid 2 weeks later. But I get paid weekly, so whatever I'm working this week, I'll get paid on like the 15th, because it's the first now, so I get paid around the 15th for it, basically. That's kind of the pay structure. And so if they told me today, oh, like the contract is expiring, no more, there's no more hours available to schedule because it's self-scheduling hours as well. If they told me today the contract is expired and we're not accepting any more hours after today, I would get paid until, like the 15th or whatever. Actually, I can look at the date that I would get paid. Yeah, it would be the 15th would be my last day. Would be my last pay date. But then the next contract that I can look at on the website, and I could go look right now if I wanted to and see what contracts they have available for me to sign up for. But I can't sign up for contracts while I'm active on another contract. We can't be on multiple contracts at the same time for whatever reason. Um, but if I were to look at another contract, and sometimes the training date doesn't start until a month later. So if they told me today that it was done, and I applied to a new one today, the start on that next one could literally not be till like December 15th. And then I don't get paid until like probably a month after that, so I don't start getting paid until the middle of January. And so I'm like basically almost 2 months out with no pay at all coming in, and that would put me in a very very poor situation. And so I have been trying to find other jobs that aren't this kind of contract job, um, just because I need something more stable and not as crazy. Because there's been some other things that have been going on at this job that have been insane as well. Like the client that I'm working for right now, the client for the that we're working for, they reduced the amount of hours that they needed or that they were supplying to us, and so in order to accommodate that, our bosses, our supervisors, in order to accommodate that for the client, they just wiped everybody's schedules and told us to reschedule them. And how I was scheduling myself before was I wasn't really working Fridays because I like to just have the 3 day weekend. And so I was off. Last Friday was when they decided to do that. And they only emailed us. They didn't notify us like really at all in any way that I could find. And so I woke up Monday for my shift that I was supposed to start at 11 or 12, and I logged in and it was like showing that I wasn't scheduled at all during the entire week. So I thought it was maybe a glitch, and so I went and um I went and I messaged the our Teams channel, and I was like, hey, is there like a glitch with the website? It's showing that I'm not scheduled. And they were like, check your email, your personal email. Checked it, and then I saw the email that said they wiped our schedules on Friday and that new shifts became available. So I went to go, just find my shift or schedule my shifts. There was no shifts available at all this week until basically Thursday. There was a 30-minute shift on Wednesday, and then there was 2 p.m. to 8 p.m. yesterday, Thursday on Halloween, and then there was 10 a.m. to 8 p.m. today. That is 16 hours that I was able to get for this entire week when usually I'm getting at least 30. So, that was a little crazy. And the minimum hours we're supposed to get is actually 18. And so I had to make sure that I messaged at least one of the supervisors and say, hey, I'm only able to schedule 16 hours this week because of that's all that's available on the website. And they were like, oh, I'm so sorry. They were like, thank you for letting us know. Thank you for letting us know. If that's the maximum that you could schedule because of like the hours available, you should be fine. There shouldn't be any reason for your contract to be at risk. And we will definitely make note of it to ensure that doesn't happen. So I'm hoping that after this week, when they check the schedule adherence and everything like that, because there's also part of the contracts is that we have to have at least 95% schedule adherence. So that means we have to show up since we make our own schedules, we have to show up for at least 95% of those shifts. And we have to block out our own breaks, our own lunches, stuff like that if we need to. And it's 30-minute segments. So you either take a 30-minute break or you're just having to like take your time off during the clock to, use the restroom or, like during when you're supposed to be on the clock, you're clocking out to go use the restroom or go take the dog out, stuff like that. So having to do that, that can already like kind of take away some from your schedule adherence. So it's a little bit impossible to have 100% schedule adherence. So I went in and I scheduled my next week, and so now I'm not really getting my 3 day weekends anymore because I have to because with the new amount of hours they've scheduled, it's so much less hours that I can't work that many hours in the same day anymore. And so to even just make my like my the hours that I was working before, I have to schedule all 5 days, um, which is fine. And I do prefer a 3 day weekend, but I would rather get the amount of hours that I need than have a 3 day weekend. So I've been starting next week. I'm gonna have to go back to the 5 day work week, which I hate the 5 day work week. I hate the 40 hour work week. I hate the 5 day work week. I think it is so annoying, which is why I like being able to set my own schedule with like the hours that we had because I was able to do the amount of hours that I wanted in 4 days and sometimes even 3 days. Like when I first started, not when I first started, but when I first like fully was like doing my own schedules outside of like the like kind of like early like training phase, like the first like when I first actually started like with fully on my own. At this one, I was only scheduling myself 3 days a week, and I was literally doing long, long days. I was doing like 10 a.m. to 8 p.m. 3 days a week, which is 10 hours. That was giving me 30 hours a week, and that's really all I needed because of the pay rate. That was perfect for me. But then, like I said, with the reduced schedules, it makes it a little bit harder. And I hate the 40-hour work week. I hate the 5 day work week. I think I prefer having more days off because I prefer my leisure time, and I prefer to have my time. And I don't like work consuming all my time. And I know that's something that's gonna come whenever I become a teacher, because schools are open most of the time 5 days a week, and in very rare cases only 4 days a week. Like my siblings' schools, they only go Monday to Thursday, and then they're off Fridays. But I think teachers still have to show up on Fridays to do something. I don't really know exactly how it works. I'm not a teacher there, so I don't know. It's something that I'm gonna have to like put myself into. So it's like I should just be doing it. But it's like since I'm in my 20s. I don't know if I mentioned that, but I'm in my 20s, and I want to just like have a good time. I want to like have my time. I don't want to be working all the time. I don't want to waste my one free decade away, um like working. And some people do, and that's fine, and that's like if that's how they want to choose to spend their 20s, then that's fine, and they deserve to spend it that way because that's how they want to. We all should be able to spend our 20s the way we want to spend our 20s, because it's our first free decade where we're adults, and we get to, you only get technically in your first decade, you only get 8 or 9 years of the like full drinking uh part of it. But you get 12 years total, unless you don't count the 30, so you get 11 or 12 years of just being like an adult. And some people are able to stay with their parents, so they're able to be like have more fun in terms of like their finances, and some people move out, and so they're able to have more fun in terms of having their own space. And some people go to college, so they're able to have more fun in terms of having this like having a space to go back to, as well as getting an education. And also if they do have a job, they're able to also have the financial freedom. It's just a lot of like there's so many things that we are privileged to in our 20s that a lot of people don't take advantage of, and that I'm not even currently taking advantage of. I'm literally always stressed out. And even though I'm not living with my parents, I live in a place where, and it is somewhere where the people that I live with have told me that they don't mind if I like necessarily what I do, like with like who I hang out with, or if I want to have company over and stuff like that. They said they don't really mind that, but it's still in a place where it's like it's not my own roof, and it's not my own funds going towards the roof, which I mean it is to a sense, because I pay 150 a week, and then I pay the electric bill, and I pay the internet, and I help out wherever else I can. And so it's like I am paying my dues, and I'm paying for my spot, but it still just like doesn't feel like my space. It doesn't feel like I have the freedom to have people over whenever I want, or be loud and do what I want to do, and talk however I want to talk whenever I want to talk, and play music on a speaker if I want to play music on a speaker. It just doesn't feel like it's that kind of space for me because I still have like roommates that and like I said, they've said that they don't mind any of that stuff, and they do put up with me a little bit because I stay up late into the hours of the night and I'm playing video games and stuff like that, and so they don't mind that and they put up with that, and they have brought it up a couple times to me regarding some mental health issues, making sure I was okay mentally, um, because that it can be a sign of depression if you're up late into the hours of the night and then sleeping until 4 p.m. So that's fair. That one's on me. Okay, that one's on me. I'll take that. I see the L you're handing out. I'm gonna go ahead and take that. I'll put it in my little t-shirt pocket and we'll move on. Okay, holding on to that one. Got it. Thank you for checking up on me. um, but they do put up with me, and I know that they come from a good place, and obviously they open their home to me, so they trust me enough to have good judgment on the company that I do invite over and whatnot. So it's like I should feel like I can and should, but I also just don't trust people like the company that I would want to invite over are my friends, but my friends live across the country from me, so it's like I can't really invite them over. And so like the only other like company that I'd invite over would be like these men from these like dating apps or situations like that, and I don't trust men after especially, and maybe that's something I need to work on from that I was talking about from last episode, is just like being a little bit more carefree, but like especially since it's not my own space, if the person I invite over is like a psychopath, they know not only where I live, but also where my roommates and their child lives now. So it's just like scary because I don't like know who you are, and you're coming into a house that's really not my own. And that's why another thing where I'm like, if I had my own space, I wouldn't care about that because they would, if they know where I live, at least it's only me that is threatened. And so that's why I don't really want to invite guests over like that, because it's not just my space. It's a shared space between like a family. So I just need to I want to get my own space eventually regardless, which is why I'm moving to Nebraska. So catch me in Nebraska coming soon. Um I don't remember where I was at the start of that. To be honest. Let me try and backtrack. I don't remember where I was with that at all. I tried to backtrack and I don't know where the fuck I was going or where I was at. So I guess I'll just leave it at that. And if anybody has any questions or wants me to finish that thought, you can let me know in the comments below. Thank you. Um, so that's kind of that this time. Um, oh, I was talking about scared of losing my job. That's what I was talking about actually. Um, so I need to find something more stable to where I can still not spend my entire 20s working all the time, but make enough that's livable in my own space is kind of like the thesis of what I was trying to say. So that's a goal that I'm going to set for myself starting now, but especially in the new year. In 2025, I want to move into my own space. Not even necessarily. I need to set that goal for myself, and I do really need to do that. But in 2025, if I go back to college, then I'll be probably in a dorm on campus anyway, unless I find an apartment off campus. And I think there is some schools that will pay for your off campus housing if it's like close enough or something like that. I think I'm not quite sure how that works. I would have to probably look into that or ask people or ask the school itself. I don't really know exactly how that works. But I did get my freshman year of college. I did get really I did get approved for off campus housing because I had really bad anxiety coming out of high school. Um, Gay kid in Texas in a small town that was vastly kind of homophobic, so naturally. Um, but I came out of high school with a lot of anxiety, and then moving to kind of a bigger, more urbanized town for my college, and being just put into a dorm with a random roommate, it like kind of terrified me. And then especially because when I found out who my roommate was and they had this like kind of like an early like chat, my roommate was definitely more homophobic. He seemed, um, and so that was a little scary to me. Which I did eventually end up switching rooms, just because the room that I got originally was on like the 18th floor of the skyscraper, and so I got switched to the third floor of a different building, so it was a lot more manageable. And so I was able to get switched halfway into the first semester, but it was just I had a lot of anxiety about that, and so I was able to talk to my doctor about it. My doctor was able to, you know, not only give me a note, but I think my doctor actually sent at the time. She sent an email to the school regarding me, uh, advising them that they would need to um they would need to provide me with some sort of aid for an off-campus situation, and they had provided me with that. They provided me with the resources to submit the official application, and then they provided me with the approval. But I didn't end up doing that. I ended up just living on campus, and I got stuck with a roommate, and the first roommate was terrible, and then the second roommate was so nice. He was so nice. He was so cute, and he was so cute too. I love him. I miss him in like a friend way. Although he was very attractive to me as well, but that's neither here nor there. He was just a very cute person, and I mean that in just like a like platonic way, like in the most like you see like a person like interact with the world, and they're just like they're doing it in such like an adorable way and an admirable way, because they're just I don't know. He was very quiet too. He talked to me sometimes, or he would like we obviously had each other's phone numbers, and sometimes he would text me and ask me if I was going to be in the room because he forgot his key or stuff like that. Just like stuff like little simple dorm roommate stuff. And it was just a very like cute. He was a very sweet roommate. He was a very sweet person, and he had the room to himself before I moved in. And so I know when I moved in, may have been a little bit disheartened by it, maybe, or like been like, "Damn, I lost my like, self, like ruined myself. Damn." So, but he never said that to me. So I'm sure he felt it at least a little bit, but he never said it to me, and so he was very nice, and I do miss that kind of relationship with a roommate where it's like you're both like, hey, can you let me in the room? Like that's literally just like the most college dorm roommate shit ever. Like I kind of miss that relationship, because the relationship I have with my roommates now, while they do ask for similar things, it just feels a little different. And I think it's because of like their like family, and so it just feels like it feels less not friendly, because we're not hostile to each other at all, like by any means, but it feels less like friendly, if that makes sense. It feels more like I don't know. It just doesn't feel as like lighthearted and fun as it did in college. But maybe it's because that's just a me thing too. Maybe it's just because I know that it's not just a college dorm, it's a full apartment, and so maybe that's why it doesn't feel as light. And maybe it's nothing to do with like the people I'm living with specifically. I'm gonna go ahead and call it here, but we'll be back for more. Okay, come get yourself a triple serving, triple helping. We'll be back. Make sure to keep your eye out for Crown Jewel coming out in later this year. The first episode will air before the end of the year. We haven't just chosen a day yet. Actually, I think I have chosen a day. I think I said it as a premiere on YouTube. I don't remember if I did that yet. I'm thinking December 16th, episode 1. So keep your eyes on that. Subscribe to the Crown Jewel YouTube channel. You can find me on YouTube and everywhere else at Eternally Stevie. ETERNALLYSTEVIE on most platforms. You can search that on every platform if you like. You just can't guarantee you'll find someone. If you want to suggest anything you want me to talk about, leave it in a comment. But yeah, that's pretty much all I have for you. Thank you guys for listening.